Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Still no Speaker of the House because the Republican caucus, they're in total disarray. Congressman Kevin McCarthy failed again to win the House Speaker's gavel. After coming up short after 6 votes, they're going to be reconvening in 2 more hours, and he'll lose again. President Biden met with Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell today in a rare show of bipartisanship. We'll show you what Biden had to say and why he is giving $2 billion to Kentucky. The historic city of Eatonville, Florida, is fighting to preserve its heritage and historical roots. We will speak with the executive director of the Community Association trying to safeguard Black history. Also, there's an update in the Damar Hamlin story. He is the Buffalo Bills player who suffered cardiac arrest during Monday night's football game. And today, folks, as we continue our focus on the new you in 2023, Terry Starks. I can't believe I'm going to be praising a Sigma. Terry Starks, folks, goes by the Diet Doctor on Instagram. He is going to join us to talk about how you can lose 30 pounds without taking drugs, without fads, without crash diet. We'll have him in our Fit, Live, Win segment. All right, folks, it is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on Go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, the House adjourned until 8 p.m. Eastern for a possible 7th vote to determine who will be the next Speaker of the House. The multiple rounds of voting we are seeing has not happened since 1923. To be elected Speaker, a candidate must win a majority of members who vote for a specific person on the House floor. That means 218 votes. If no member skips the votes or votes present, several Republicans, of course that happens, but several Republicans have vowed to oppose Kevin McCarthy. In fact, what you have seen is about 20 Republicans consistently not vote for him. Now, to last couple of days, they were voting for Jim Jordan of Ohio. Well, today, they were voting for Florida Representative Byron Donalds. Donald's name was thrown in nomination, and the first time you've had 2 Black folks actually nominated for Speaker of the House. Do y'all have the video of Chip Roy of Texas praising that? The Republicans, like, some of them, it was so funny, y'all, watching it. Some of them were like, okay, some of them were clapping, and then others, then they finally realized, you know what, we might want to stand up on this black man part. And so they did. And then the funny part is to watch the Republicans saying to the Democrats, y'all stand up too. You should be praising this. Of course, Democrats are sitting there looking at them like they're idiots going, y'all pretty are dumb, aren't y'all? And they really are. So you're seeing what happens with these Republicans, y'all, and the mess they're making of this. And so if y'all want a good laugh, y'all ready to press play? Here's a good laugh in a second. We're going to have you of Chip Roy, y'all, again, putting Byron Donalds' name in nomination, and he's praising it was having 2 Black people being nominated for Speaker of the House. Yay. We'll show you that in a second. Let me introduce my panel. The guest, Avis Jones DeWeaver, leadership strategist. My panel is A. Scott Bolden, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee. Dr. Jason Nichols, senior lecturer, African American Studies, Department of University of Maryland, College Park. Monique Presley, legal analyst, host of Make It Make Sense with Monique Presley. Glad to have all of you here. Avis, it is really hilarious to watch the mess Republicans are making. And then to have these different analysts on television, to have them say, well, maybe the Democrats should cut a deal with Republicans in order to help Kevin McCarthy become Speaker. And Democrats like, nah, we good. We got our man. Jeffries got our 212 votes. This on y'all.
Absolutely. And to quote Leader Jeffries, it's not their job to save the Republicans from their dysfunction. because that's exactly what we are witnessing right now. This should be embarrassing for the Republican Party, and it should be enlightening for the American people. Because just think about it. If these folks can't even get their own ish together in their own party, they can't even properly run their own ish, how the heck are they supposed to be able to run an entire nation? This is just the beginning of at least 2 years of buffoonery in the House of Representatives. And I know for myself, and I'm sure also probably for Liz Cheney, I'm just ready to pull up some big old bags of popcorn because it's not going to end anytime soon.
And the thing here is, I mean, you have these renegade Republicans, and the reality is the margins are so tight here that all it takes is 5. You can't get to 218, then you don't get it. And look, it's a rock solid 20. Kevin McCarthy has sold his devil. He is sucked up to them. He's been on his bended knee, hands and knees, kissing their ass, and he's conceded all kinds of different things. Dude, they're just not into you. So at some point, he's going to have to realize they're going to have 100 votes. He's not going to win.
Absolutely not. I mean, it's just like death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, I'd rather somebody just take me on out, okay, one time. Who wants to go through this public humiliation? Not just one time, not just 2 times, not just 3 times, 6 times and counting. I mean, it makes me think about what the hell was all that pizza for last night? What the hell? You come back today, it's the same results, just with a different, guy that they've put up against him. So, clearly he has lost. He never had control. Whatever control he thought he had, he has lost. And as you mentioned, he has literally prostrated himself to these folks, and it's still not good enough for them. And so the reality is, unless he just is, I'm wondering who would be, honestly, the next choice for them. But if he has any pride whatsoever, he would just take his name out of contention, because this is not going to work. I don't care how many times he wants to try. It ain't going to work.
He is absolutely desperate, Jason, for this job. Remember, he wanted this before. He took his name out of contention when the same Freedom Caucus said, no, we don't like you. They don't like him. And here's the other deal. He lies. We know he lies. He was on tape ridiculing Donald Trump, these other Republicans, privately on a leadership call, but then came out there and was kissing Trump's butt at Mar-a-Lago. Kevin McCarthy will say or do anything for a win. And that's what these Republicans are saying. We don't trust your ass. We don't like you. It ain't, Jason, he ain't gonna get to be Speaker of the House. And what was the comment he made? I can't wait to have Nancy Pelosi hand me the gavel and I might hit her in the head with it. Pip, that ain't gonna be happening.
Yeah, I mean, this has always been about Kevin McCarthy's personal ambition more than it is for anything else. And I think, you're seeing a lot of those people, particularly his right flank, the Lauren Boeberts, the Matt Gaetz, who seems to be like the leader of that clown show, basically saying we're not going to vote for you, even if you do a lot of the things that we want. They want term limits. That's one thing that I don't think Kevin McCarthy has bended his knee on, because he wants to stay there, probably for the rest of his career. He knows there's no route up. He's not going to win a Senate seat in California. You got to remember, he's from, Bakersfield, California. So he pretty much knows that this is the height of his career, and he really wants this. And I don't know who's going to flinch first. I'm not so convinced that Kevin McCarthy is going to back down. As you said, he's wanted this for his entire career. This is the capstone on his career. He thought maybe Donald Trump could save him. Donald Trump went out on Truth Social, or whatever you call that thing, and said, hey, let's vote for Kevin McCarthy. And that wasn't enough to convince even the most ardent Trump supporters, like Boebert and Gaetz and Andy Biggs and Byron Donald. Even they weren't with it. So I don't know where this goes. For some reason, I still think he's going to get the gavel somehow. I don't know. But, this is hilarious. This is embarrassing. And it shows you, if the midterms weren't enough to show you how much of an embarrassment this party is, this should show you they can't get it together. And even if he does get the gavel, even if he gets it, he's going to be so weakened by, all of the people that don't like him, that it's really, I'm not sure he's going to want the job after he gets it.
Monique, I don't think so. I think the bottom line is it's fundamentally clear they are not going to break. And the reality is, here's the deal. I don't know what the hell you can offer them. Remember, when you talk about the Freedom Caucus, these are the same people who drove John Boehner out of Congress as Speaker of the House. He was so sick of them. He was like, you know what? Y'all can have this bull. I'm going back to Ohio, and I'm going to smoke my cigarettes, and I'm going to drink my alcohol because y'all drive me crazy. That's the real deal here.
Smoked weed, too.
Well, now he's supporter of cannabis. Yeah, they drove the man to smoking weed, Monique.
They did, and no, there's not any amount of negotiating, especially for we're going to figure out, I think, soon, whether it's 4 or 5, for whom it is intensely personal. They're not just obstructionists for obstructionist's sake. They are the ones, truly, that you were talking about. It's not just that they're not that into you. It's that they will not abide by him in that position under any circumstances. I tweeted saying it really is like you ask a person to marry you 6 times and they say, no, we don't want you. And you say, okay, well, let me just ask the 7th and see if you change your mind. That's where we are right now with McCarthy and these people. But apparently what's going to happen at some point, maybe at 8 o'clock. Notice they're pushing to prime time now because they know that for some of the 20, they have been doing this without their own constituents being able to watch. People who go to work during the day who aren't paying attention to the clown show that has been taking place on the government dime. So they're pushing tonight. I don't think there's any negotiating going on right now. I think they're just saying, okay, we're upping the ante. We're not giving you 12 to 6. Then you get your break for dinner and go to sleep on time. We're going to keep your families here who are waiting for many of you to be sworn in. And we're going to put you in prime time where everybody who elected you can see what you're choosing to do at the start of this new congressional term. And then if that doesn't work, apparently, they are strongly considering refusing to put up any other nominee and having it be either you get McCarthy or you get Hakeem Sekou Jeffries and seeing what kind of mettle these 20 have. A couple of them already said, hey, it could be Jeffries as far as I'm concerned. It's because the clown show is the point. But they all of their moves right now, all of McCarthy's moves are about ways to expose them. It's not about getting votes.
Well, bottom line is that I don't think they're going to break. Hold on one second. I got to go to a break. We come back, and we're going to continue this conversation and show you when Texas Congressman Chip Roy was like, we nominated 2 black guys, and boy, the Republicans are like, I guess with a clap. Yeah, let's go clap. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Be sure to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Support our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores everywhere. Plus, you can download a copy on Audible. We'll be right back.
I love directing. It's a different kind of piece. I do believe that the 30 years I was acting was to prepare me for what I'm supposed to be doing and that what I'm really am good at.
But when you were acting, were you even thinking about directing?
Nope.
Were you? So what the hell happened?
If you had asked me 15 years ago, I probably would have said, no, I don't know. I was doing Ava DuVernay's first film, I Will Follow. Mm-hmm. And during that process, I think because it was her first film, maybe
She's self-taught?
Absolutely. I probably gave too many suggestions. And at some point, Ava said to me, I think you're a director and you don't know it.
talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
It's Kim Whitley.
Yo, what's up? This your boy Ice Cube.
Hey, yo, Peace World. What's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks. The drama in the House continues with these crazed, deranged Republicans. We don't have a House Speaker yet. We continue our conversation with Avis Jones DeWeaver, as well as my panelists. Here was the moment, y'all, today that was absolutely laughable when Texas Congressman Chip Roy put Florida Congressman Byron Donalds' name in nomination for Speaker of the House, and they had their moment of civil rights history.
Yesterday, my first vote for Speaker of the House was for Byron Donalds. Today, I'm rising to nominate Byron Donalds for Speaker of the House of Representatives. Byron is a dear friend, a solid conservative, but most importantly, a family man who loves dearly his wife, Erica, his 3 children, has a proven track record as a businessman, public service in the Florida legislature, and now as a member of the United States Congress. Now, here we are, and for the first time in history, there have been 2 Black Americans placed into the nomination for Speaker of the House.
There was this one point there, Scott, where there was a cutaway to Matt Gaetz, and he was like to Democrats, "Yeah, y'all stand up, man, sit your ass down."
And again, sit your ass down. I mean, the reality is this. Let me tell you, it's even worse for McCarthy and embarrassing for the Republicans because McCarthy, let's say through some miracle he wins, he will never be able to govern. Because he's cut so many deals. It's like when you're in the middle of the road and you're begging for power and someone holds that over you, then you're going to get run over by a truck or car. So that's the first thing. I expect him to withdraw his name after 8 o'clock when they come back. What is interesting and what we're not talking about is who the alternative is that is really good at marshaling votes and could be Speaker of the House, whether they're in the House or whether they are outside of the House. I think the discussions are about who's next, who's coming up, not about whether McCarthy can survive or not. He's the walking dead. What's also interesting, Roland, is that we know how much the Republicans love power, and yet their thirst for power and to control the House has not been able to bring those 20 Freedom Caucus members to the middle and to vote for McCarthy. They'd rather be embarrassed and have someone else be Speaker. This is personal for a lot of them. And I think that's how it's manifested itself with this shit show over 7 votes.
Well, here's the deal. I get Scott's point, Avis, but here's the deal. To say, well, who's going to be the next choice? Here's the problem. You still have the 20 members of the Freedom Caucus. They need 218. Democrats ain't helping nobody on the Republican side. So the Republicans are going to have to figure out how to get the 218. And so it raises the question, do you have somebody who is amenable to both? Is it Steve Scalise? Well, we know he's a David Duke without the KKK hood. And he has his own issues as well. And remember, if 5 Republicans say no, it ain't happening. So that's why I think it's just laughable watching this whole thing play out because, you know, they are sort of stuck in limbo. And this is what happens when you negotiate with terrorists. Kevin McCarthy's greatest mistake was you negotiated with terrorists. Okay, they don't care about blowing the joint up. They're fine with that.
Absolutely, because their whole agenda is not to govern, right? Their whole agenda is to tear shit down. I mean, that's really what they are there for. That is where they get the bona fides among their constituents, the people who voted them in. They are really sort of appealing to that, in essence, batshit crazy element of the population, and they're bringing the batshit crazy right into the halls of Congress. But what you're saying here is the big question, right? Who is the alternative? And we do know that they're not limited to members of Congress. They're not limited to somebody that's in the House of Representatives. So it would be interesting to think who would satisfy the batshit crazies at the same time satisfying the more traditional conservatives and the sort of the middle of the road people and the more sort of moderate Republicans. Does that person even exist? And, you know, honestly, as I rack my brain, I really don't know that they do, but I guess they're going to have to figure something out, or else we're going to sit here for God knows how long without movement in this area, without the ability to sort of swear in the new people who were just elected to Congress. And once again, displaying the dysfunction of the Republican Party to this nation and to the entire world.
I used this phrase earlier, Jason, you don't negotiate with terrorists. Let me remind people, the leaders against Kevin McCarthy were the insurrectionists.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think, you know, people are talking about bringing up Justin Amash, who is no longer in Congress. But again, to be Speaker, you don't necessarily have to be in Congress.
But right, the Constitution says that, but you need 218.
Right, you need 218. That's absolutely true. But they're talking about bringing, some people have even brought up Trump's name, but I don't think Trump would get 218.
He wouldn't.
I'm not sure who they could actually get that would, you know, appease all factions of the Republican Party. And, you know, it's funny because Democrats are known as the big tent party. We heard all the time about how Nancy Pelosi couldn't get along with the squad and how many times, and I said this the other day on the show, you know, I can't tell you how many times I went and had to answer these kinds of questions on Fox News or other conservative outlets about how Nancy Pelosi and the squad were beefing and they couldn't get things done. And we saw them get a whole lot done, particularly in this last Congress. And now you see they can't even vote for the speaker, you know, and it's gone through what, almost 7, it's going to be 7 votes. So I agree with what everyone else has said. This is going nowhere. I mean, I think, like I said, I think that they're going to realize that they have to give the gavel to McCarthy, because whom else are they going to give it to? Like, that's my question. If y'all can answer that, then, you know, I'll give up on McCarthy. But I think at some point they've got to come to their senses and say, we really don't have anybody that we're all going to agree upon, and that they have to give the gavel to somebody.
Well, again, I just got to keep reminding people, Monique, when you're looking at and analyzing this whole deal here, this is what these folks know and understand. We can withhold our votes and break your backs. And they know it. And it's 20 of them. So let's just say, okay, let's just say 10 buckle. You still ain't at 218. You literally need 16 to buckle. It's 5 who have said they are adamant they will never support Kevin McCarthy. It's a little hard to get somebody off adamant.
Right. Well, you know, there are a few different things going on. So
I got about 40 seconds, so you can't go to that many different things. Go.
Okay, well, I'll do the first one. It's the Republican processes that the 90% are really fighting for. It's not McCarthy. It's the fact that they had private votes and the overwhelming majority of them selected a speaker, and they want their rules to hold up. So they're stuck because they're dealing with 14 of 15 incumbents against him who don't care about rules, who don't care about democracy, who said that the last election was fraudulent and a lie. So they are living with what they have allowed for and what they created.
All right, so hold on one second. We're going to come back for a final segment on this because I want people to understand this is the future for the next 2 years. So just understand, y'all, this ain't just right now. This is the next 2 years we're going to be dealing with. And so we'll discuss that next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Folks, do me a favor, download the Black Star Network app. We're available on all platforms, of course, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Support us in our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 a year. That allows us to raise $1 million to be able to cover the stores that you want covered. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Brownie of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at all bookstores. Download on Audible. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, y'all. Stop riding for free. I see your comments, but hit the like button. Same thing on the other platforms as well. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The Supreme Court is back in session. God help us all. It is no exaggeration to say that this current session could completely reshape this country and redirect our future for generations to come. And not in a good way. We invite Dr. Valencia Watkins and Professor Angela Porter, our legal roundtable, back to the show to put it all in perspective. That's on the next Black Table. Please don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretended to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You are watching Roland Martin, and I'm on his show today. And it's what? Huh? You should have some cue cards.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Jacob Lattimore, and you're now watching Roland Martin right now.
All right, folks. Scott, I'll start with you. And again, we'll get about 5 minutes in this segment, folks. Scott, this is real simple. Get ready. This is going to be the next 2 years. If you think this is dysfunction, just prepare yourself. This is how the Freedom Caucus, they're going to try to block anything for the next 2 years. And if you're Democrats, you get to watch this and go, those are the idiots. Yep, that's on those idiots, ain't on us.
Yeah, but the challenge for the Democrats will also be then how do you pick off 5 Republicans that you need to pass legislation, because the Senate is going to be passing legislation, and you've got, because of the margins are so close in the House, you've got to pick off some Republicans. The Republicans aren't going to pick off any Democrats if the Freedom Caucus have anything to say about it. And so while that's going to be a challenge for Hakeem Jeffries, it's going to be an opportunity, because there are moderate Republicans that you can pick off and want to move the piece forward. But the reality is you've got to figure out this whole speaker piece, and someone will emerge. I predict someone will emerge after 8 o'clock, somebody we haven't thought about, somebody they've talked into it, and somebody that gives on some of these rules that Monique was talking about, but not all of them. Because remember, the 7 votes is wear and tear on not only Republicans who want McCarthy, but it is wear and tear on the Freedom Caucus, even though they're hell bent on it, and that's what they're manifesting. The reality is this has got to stop, and both sides are going to have to move forward. But after 8 o'clock, we'll be able to figure that part out.
But it doesn't have to stop, Avis. We showed the tweet yesterday. If you go back to the 1855, there were 133 votes. Again, bottom line is this here. If you are, like, I know we keep talking about, oh my God, we haven't seen this in 100 years. Okay, when we say we haven't seen this in 100 years, that means it actually happened before. Okay,
that's right.
There were 100.
No.
Excuse me.
We're not.
Yes.
That was 100 years ago, Roland.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Nobody saw it.
Excuse me.
Nobody saw it.
Excuse me. Let me make the point again. We
show.
like to act as if, oh my God, this has never happened. What I'm saying, Avis, is it has happened. Mm-hmm. You've had Michael Beschloss, we played the tweet yesterday, goes back to 1855, where there were 133 votes before they elected a speaker. The point I'm making here is if you're the Freedom Caucus, you don't have to break. You know for a fact you got the votes. You can break him by just holding your group together. McCarthy, we can say McCarthy really wants this. I fundamentally believe the pressure is going to be on him by saying, man, listen, we gave you 10 shots. We gave you 12 shots. You ain't getting it. And so then that's when it comes in. But again, these folks, we're talking about, let me remind people, Matt Gaetz, Boebert, racist Gosar, Chip Roy. That's 4 of the nuts. These are crazy people. Avis, they're not logical people. They're nuts. I don't think for a second the Freedom Caucus is backing down, but to put my money on it, Kevin McCarthy will never be speaker.
Yeah, I don't think they're backing down either, because their goal is not to do anything to move the wheels of government along. It's very interesting how people can be anti-government but in government at the same time, right? Number one. Number two, they like the fact that they have the power to stick it to the traditional quote unquote Republican infrastructure. You know, they want to be seen as these outliers who are out here fighting against the status quo. And so I don't think there's really anything much that can be offered to them that probably hasn't already been offered that would change their mind. I really think they want to just, they would rather blow up the system than to do anything to help it move along. And so to me, in their eyes, they gain credibility in the eyes of the people that they're trying to impress by being the thorn rather than in any way helping move forward democracy in this nation in any format and in this one specifically.
A rapid response. I got 3 of you, 90 seconds total. Monique, go.
The reason why I was saying it's not the same is not because I don't acknowledge the fact that it happened over 100 years ago. It's the question of whether anyone watched it happen over 100 years ago, and no one did. And these days, what social media means is if people don't know about it, it isn't occurring. The 20 Freedom Caucus members, wild asses though they are, do not have the same level of autonomy and decision-making as people 100 years ago did to vote 100 times. At some point, their constituents are going to be looking at them and get the math. Every day that we spend on this is a day that we don't spend on real issues. So the reason why they're going tonight at 8 p.m. is because people in Congress, and anybody like me who's ever worked for people in Congress knows, when those constituency phones start ringing, heads start rolling. The real work that's going on right now is the underground work that the Republicans can't do, like in front of the cameras. They can't embarrass their colleagues, but they can do it underground and try to build some resistance through exposure. And that, frankly, is the only hope they have of a pickup. So they either pick an interim or they pick a person other than McCarthy.
But Jason, here's the deal. If you actually listen to what they're saying that these are the people who passed the $1.7 trillion omnibus bill. They're actually saying we don't want people like him to be in leadership because they're the problem. So they're not focusing on let's pass some legislation. They're saying these are the people who are the problem with passing bad bills, and their supporters are saying right on.
No, I think that's actually true. Again, I'm having trouble just imagining this going on forever. And one of the things that I'll say is you can say McCarthy's going to back down, but I would say McCarthy, if I'm McCarthy, I'm like, there's 200 of us. There's 20 of you. There's, more people being represented. I know you have some of the red meat Republican media behind you. I know, some people that you and I both know have been cheering this on, but 200 of us and 20 of you, or 201 of us and 20 of you, who's going to break first? I definitely don't see the people that you named breaking, people like Gates and Gosar and Biggs and Boebert. They're not going to break. But, this is going to be an interesting thing. I don't see it getting resolved tonight. I don't see, Byron Donald becoming the Speaker of the House tonight. At 8 o'clock or after 8 o'clock. I think this is gonna go on for a while. Kevin McCarthy has wanted this his whole life. He's not backing down. Since he didn't get that internship in college, that congressional internship, he has been wanting this. And I think he's gonna stick with it till the wheels fall off. So this is gonna be interesting. It's an interesting game of chicken. We'll see who blinks first.
Scott, real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the pressure isn't on McCarthy. The pressure is on the 200. And when you get that 200, they're going to start being picked off. Somebody's going to have a come to Jesus call or discussion with McCarthy and say, we did our best. We've got to find somebody to move forward for the sake of the country. That's the discussion that's going on right now. He doesn't get the speakership tonight, but we do get a Speaker of the House tonight after 8 p.m.
We'll see. All right, Avis DeWeaver, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks. Boy, I tell you what, it is always something when you're talking about Republicans in Congress. There's a story we're covering, folks, out of Florida, where they're the pioneering African-American town, Eatonville. They're fighting to preserve their black ownership as gentrification threatens to push black community members out of the area. Eatonville was established in 1887, making it the oldest black incorporated municipality in the United States. It was the first town successfully established by once enslaved people. Eatonville is also the hometown of Zora Neale Hurston and became a significant influence on her works. The issue right now, though, is what is going to happen, the future of Eatonville. Where does it go from here? I'm going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with the executive director of the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community, discuss how the Eatonville community is working to promote their cultural, their historical heritage, and to keep that Black heritage and that history intact. Folks, don't forget to support us in what we do. This is why the Black Star Network is here. This is why Roland Martin Unfiltered is here. Talk about these sort of stories from our perspective, through our lens, with our perspective. And so do me a favor, download the Black Star Network app. You can download this on all platforms, folks. That's Apple phone, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Also, support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Brownie of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Buy it at bookstores, download it on Audible. We'll be right back.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, it's time to tie up those loose ends, setting yourself up for balance, success, and even prosperity in the new year. Financial expert Pamela Sams joins our panel. She will give us a checklist of things that we need to do before the calendar turns.
We develop our money mindset by the age of 6. And so we have our sometimes 6-year-old self still operating in the background of our money scripts.
That's next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
This is Judge Mathis.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mac Wiles, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, joining us right now to talk about Eatonville, Florida is Ann Widener-Theory. She is the executive director of the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community. Glad to have you on the show. So tell us exactly, what is going on. First of all, how large is Eatonville? What's the population? And for folks who don't know where Eatonville is, what's the largest major city you're closest to?
Thank you so much for having me on. We are closest to Orlando. We are the largest undeveloped parcel of land in Orange County. Eatonville is a population of 2,500 on a good day, so we're a very small town. We, however, have a long history of civic pride, and the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community is just the latest iteration of that community pride. In fact, we were organized in 1987 because the Orange County Commission unanimously voted to 5-lane the two-lane road that runs through our community. Now, it took us 20 years, but we were able to turn that away because there was no reason to do that except to try to provide the infrastructure for development. And so the Association to Preserve Eatonville Community, our mission is to preserve, protect, and promote the considerable cultural and historical heritage resources of the community. And over the last 30 years, we've actually been able to do that. At the same time, there has been, if you look back at the last 30 years, there has been a consistent drumbeat about once every decade to do something that will represent an existential threat. In other words, that if it were to happen, the town could be erased, could disappear. So we were able to get rid of the 5-laning of the road, and that is very much because of Zora Neale Hurston, people who try to keep up with these kinds of things, historic preservation, cultural integrity. Zora Neale Hurston has celebrated in her writing and in her work the culture, the folkways of the Eatonville people. And so because of her, Eatonville has become a literary destination. I mean, people come from all over the world to us. And we established in 1990 the Zora Neale Hurston Festival of the Arts and Humanities to celebrate the life and work of Zora Neale Hurston, to celebrate the historic significance of her hometown, and to celebrate the cultural contributions which people of African ancestry have made to the United States and to the world culture, right? And so we have actually been able to establish a niche economy around culture and heritage. That is actually the case. This is not about selling a book. This is about an industry, about representing a niche and an industry that in terms of travel and tourism is in the top 5 in the world. And so for us, when Orange County Public Schools has consistently tried to sell the historic Robert Hungerford High School campus property, that represents a threat to our very existence. It represents really just economic injustice, okay? Now, why is this such a horrible thing that they have tried to do? Because the land in the 1950s was donated by the people of Eatonville to Orange County Public Schools for, quote, the education of Negro students. And that is because in terms of the way that the history unfolded,
right,
after Brown versus the Board of Education, the Robert Hungerford School, which had been a private boarding school, founded on the principles of Booker T. Washington and Tuskegee Institute. You know, I don't want to just get too emotional, but, you know, when we talk about history and heritage, Eatonville is a living museum. And if your visitors, if your viewers, if they really want to see what it means to have that kind of presence as a part of your everyday existence, come down and visit us for the 34th annual Zora Festival.
But you mentioned the land. You mentioned the land though with the school. But were there provisions in the original deal that stipulated they could not sell it?
That's right. And so what has happened over time? Is there has been, as I said, that consistent effort to take over the land and to get around the deed restriction. And frankly, as we speak, there is some question about when that has actually happened. Now, I grew up in Eatonville. Eatonville is a part of my heritage. I know I may present it a certain way, but my people came to Eatonville in the early 1900s. As a matter of fact, my grandfather on my mother's side was one of the mayors, A.N. Johnson, and he was a builder and a contractor. And so he knew about Eatonville because he built the home for the first principals from Tuskegee. All right. And so for me, And I would say that I'm representative of the passion and the emotion of the people and our concern about our commitment to the Hungerford property. As one man said, Hungerford is Eatonville and Eatonville is Hungerford. So what we're looking at right now is the effort by the Orange County School Board to enter into a contract with a developer where the Orange County Public School Board gets $10 million and the town of Eatonville might get $4 million. So I want to be clear. We are told that right now this rests with the town of Eatonville Town Council. But ultimately, we are expecting that the real situation is going to go back to Orange County Public Schools because Roland Martin, there have been so many schemes on that land,
right?
Something here, and they all go away. In fact, the first developer in this current contract walked away about 2 months ago. I mean, it's really quite amazing that we constantly see this. So we need to have Orange County Public Schools return the land to an Eatonville Community Trust. And that, for us, means the beginning of what we call the Eatonville Renaissance, because there is no doubt that the culture, the heritage, the history represents an economic catalyst for redevelopment and revitalization in Zora Neale Hurston's hometown.
Well, is it an upcoming city council meeting? Well, like, what's next? What's the next public thing happening regarding this issue?
The next, we are projected for February, the first Tuesday in February. Town Council meets the 1st and 3rd of February, and the 1st and 3rd of the month. And it's projected that the second reading of an ordinance will take place at that meeting. Our organization has been just doing what we call a series of flyers to make sure that the people know what actually is happening. In fairness, we have found that when the people of Eatonville get the accurate information, they stand firm on behalf of the town.
All right, then. Well, we certainly appreciate you joining us in Wanathery, and we'll see what happens next.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks a bunch. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about the sale of Bruce Beach. Remember, that was land in California that was returned back to the descendants of the original black owners. We're going to discuss that, and I'm going to tie this in with what's happening in Eatonville and discuss it with our panel. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube or you're watching the Black Star Network, hit this like button, hit the share button, because, again, we want to affect the algorithm and people actually can see it. And download the app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV, and join our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. You can contribute by joining Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, The Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Back in a moment.
I love directing. It's a different kind of piece. I do believe that the 30 years I was acting was to prepare me for what I'm supposed to be doing and that what I really am good at.
But when you were acting, were you even thinking about directing?
Nope.
Were you? So what the hell happened?
If you had asked me 15 years ago, I probably would have said, no, I don't know. I was doing Ava DuVernay's first film, I Will Follow. Mm-hmm. And during that process, I think because it was her first film, maybe
She's self-taught.
Absolutely. I probably gave too many suggestions. And at some point, Ava said to me, I think you're a director and you don't know it.
Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The Supreme Court is back in session. God help us all. It is no exaggeration to say that this current session could completely reshape this country and redirect our future for generations to come. And not in a good way. We invite Dr. Valencia Watkins and Professor Angela Porter, our legal roundtable, back to the show to put it all in perspective. That's on the next Black Table. Please don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm Cupid, the maker of the Cupid Shuffle and the Wham Dance.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan. And if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, a California county is going to pay $20 million to local black families for land that was seized by the state decades ago. Bruce Beach was taken from a black couple through eminent domain more than a century ago and was returned to their heirs last year. There was legislation that was passed by the California Assembly. Well, on Tuesday, the family decided to sell the property to LA County for nearly $20 million. Now, the decision to sell Bruce's Beach was in the family's best interest in finally rebuilding the generational wealth they were denied for nearly a century. This is according to their attorney. Now, what's interesting here, Scott, is that and I've seen a lot of people commenting on this story. A lot of people, Scott, have been pissed off, saying, wait a minute, you know, there are people who fought for this land to come back to them, and how dare you sell it, and they could have gotten more. Well, according to the family attorney, he said the problem is, he said the land couldn't be developed. He said the problem is it couldn't be developed, so therefore it was zoned for public use, so they really, the only option they had was to actually sell it. You know, I understand the sentiment of people by saying, you know, like, oh, they shouldn't have sold it, but that's their rationale. Your thoughts?
Yeah, in the deal that where the city gave the land back to the family, in that contract, the city was going to rent it for $432,000 a month or a year, and the zoning issue was not addressed. Or the family at some point in the future could accept a $20 million payment from the city. They took the latter versus the former. But the problem with that analysis or logic, Roland, is that if it was zoned for public use, of course it was, because the city owned it and they took it from the ancestors. So why not, as your part of your negotiation, negotiate or advocate for the zoning to be amended so that you could do development and create long-term wealth for the families as well as other black folks. That part of the story hasn't really been sorted out yet, and it could have been made part of the deal, or it could have been invested in and changing the zoning for long-term ownership.
The reason, Jason, as we look at, as I think about the Bruce Beach story and the Eatonville story, and the reason why this is so emotional to a lot of African Americans, because what it comes down to is the one thing that God is not making anything more of, and that's land. And what we know is that in the history of this country, how African Americans have lost land. We've lost millions of acres of land. We've talked to John Boyd talking about the loss of black farmers in losing their land. We know the history of African Americans who gave up land in the South because racists were threatening to kill them and they fled to the North. And so this is one of the reasons why this thing is still so emotional for a lot of people. I mean, even when you talk to black people in Harlem who are upset upset that that new generations, they sold brownstones for $300,000 and $400,000, and those brownstones now are worth $3 and $4 million. When you hear people talk about a house being passed down in a family, and then all of a sudden they're angry because a kid is like, well, I don't want to live there, so just get rid of the house. And some other family members like, yeah, but that's land. You're owning an asset. Just your thoughts.
Well, first of all, that's a topic that's a touchy subject for me because my family is one of those families in Harlem. A little more than 300,000 or 400,000, but still not what that land is worth. I looked on Zillow, even though it is basically a brand new house, my grandmother's house in Harlem. Last time I looked on Zillow, it was about $6 million. So I understand people saying that, but it's also a question of who's going to maintain it. You know, do you have the ability, the wealth, the manpower to maintain certain parts of land? I know anecdotally a couple of stories about people who have inherited apartment buildings and didn't maintain them and they got condemned. So I think one of the goals with land is to create generational wealth. And with this $20 million, I understand Scott's point about being able to keep land ownership. And we know after the Civil War, that was the primary goal of Black people, was to own land, to be able to control their own destiny. But I also understand that a lot of these families also may not have been able to control and maintain the property. And with $20 million, you can create quite a bit of generational wealth if you invest it correctly. So I think this family is still going to be okay. Whether they could have sold it for more, that I don't know, but that should have been part of the negotiation with the county earlier. But $20 million, I think, will do this family well. And if more Black families got $20 million settlements from the state, I think you'd see a lot more generational wealth within Black communities.
You know, this is, it really does lead to an interesting dialogue, Monique, when we have this discussion, because people, folks always got opinions. I think back to a couple of sales that took place. Remember, there was a lot of anger among Black people when Bob and Sheila Johnson sold BET for $3.3 billion. And folks were angry. They were like, oh my goodness, I mean, what are you doing? And I had to remind people that for all y'all who were complaining, none of y'all pay a single BET payroll. Y'all wasn't trying to make ends meet when they were owning it. I said, and so if you built something, and you built something with your own money and your hard work, and you're able to now be liquid, then I have to remind people that Bob and Sheila Johnson have taken that money from BET, and they've acquired all kind of other stuff that's worth more than what BET was worth. And here's the other thing that people also forget. BET it was private, then they went public, and so a number of employees still had shares, even when they went back to private. BET created more Black millionaires than any other company in American history. And so I get this emotional reaction to when somebody sells, but let's be honest, we're talking America, we're talking capitalism. Everything is for sale in America.
Yes. I don't know what else to say. Yes, I've been on both sides of this issue. I very much felt Dr. Jason in the way that he responded. I've watched it happen, even in my own family. And at the same time, though, I had to remind myself that I was not in the seat of decision maker, nor was I with the responsibility for upkeep, as Jason was talking about. And what I see in a larger picture, Roland, to your point, is many times Because the whole conversation about people being upset about this, frankly, just kind of reminds me of the whole conversation with people being upset with Coach Prime. And it reminds me of every time people who have nothing to do with anything are upset about something when they're not the people who are making the decisions. And so everything is history and legacy and race and pride until we're the ones that have to turn down the check and the opportunity in order to do it. And so for me, I believe part of what we fight for in this country, part of what it means to be independent, to have liberty, to have equal access to opportunity is to be able to make these decisions.
Right.
So if that family sought advice and they took those families took their 20 million, congratulations. Could somebody have made a better decision? Maybe. We don't know all the inner workings of it to have all those facts. Do I hope for the best for them? Absolutely, because it's more than they had, and they certainly didn't fight as long as they fought to walk away with nothing, and maybe that's what they were faced with. Maybe they were faced with a losing proposition. But just in general, I firmly believe, mind your business.
Well, again, people comment on stuff, but I always say, again, if you, as I say, if you don't have the full story, you really don't understand. And yeah, it's real easy to say, hey, don't do this, but you ain't the one who got to pay the bills. Simple as that. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to give you an update on the status of the Buffalo Bills player who suffered cardiac arrest Monday in the Monday Night Football game. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, it's time to tie up those loose ends. Setting yourself up for balance, success, and even prosperity in the new year. Financial expert Pamela Sams joins our panel. She will give us a checklist of things that we need to do before the calendar turns.
We develop our money mindset by the age of 6. And so we have our sometimes 6-year-old self still operating in the background of our money scripts.
That's next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Godfrey, the funniest dude on the planet.
Hi, I'm Israel Houghton. Apparently, the other message I did was not fun enough. So this is fun. You are watching
Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
Tevin Powell has been missing from Louisville, Kentucky since September 18, 2022. The 16-year-old is 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs 160 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Tevin Powell is urged to call the Louisville, Kentucky Metro Police Department at 502-574-7111, 502-574-7111. The Buffalo Bills have released an update regarding the status of their player, Damar Hamlin. He, of course, suffered a cardiac arrest during the Monday Night Football game against the Bengals on Monday. Quote, Damar remains in the ICU in critical condition with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. He's expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. Now, his uncle appeared on a couple of media outlets and said that he actually had to be revived twice. Once on the field and also when he got to the hospital. And so this young man is absolutely fighting for his life. Remember, he was hit in the chest during a routine play after tackling a Bengals receiver, stood up and then hit the ground quickly, causing a stoppage in play. Again, he is being treated at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, which is near the Bengals Stadium. Let's go to North Carolina, where a family has filed a federal lawsuit against the North Carolina Police Department after police killed their loved one in a police crash. The family of Christine Harris filed the wrongful death lawsuit because Harris, a veteran, was killed in a 2020 crash caused by North Carolina Special Police Officer Jonathan Fambrough. Fambrough was driving more than 85 miles an hour. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump and his co-counsel Jason Burton announced the filing of the federal civil rights lawsuit last year, claiming the police department willfully undermined the justice system to protect the officer from prosecution. Now, we've seen similar stories like this, Scott, where individuals have been killed in police pursuits. I believe that was a case we covered previously out of Texas where that happened. And too often, police are protected. What they're saying here is that how in the world can a cop cause a crash in a pursuit, kill someone, and then there's no justice whatsoever?
Well, one thing that's missing from the public reports is what was he doing driving 90 miles an hour?
Right.
Was he in pursuit of another car? Or was his conduct consistent with his police duty? So was he on the job or not? The cover-up came afterwards. They would only cover it up if he was not on the job or he was drinking.
He wasn't on the job. He was actually going to get some food.
Okay, so now we know why we brought the lawsuit, and then you take that with the cover-up, that's a big-ass problem. And so the cover-up is always worse than the very bad act. But was he that hungry where he was driving 90 miles an hour and killed that beautiful woman whose car ran off into the woods and stuff? I mean, it just makes no sense. But what's even worse is the fact that it's been 2 years and Crump has filed this lawsuit when in reality the city ought to have resolved this or settled this or taken some disciplinary action by this police officer. Has he been disciplined? The reports don't say, but there's a lot more investigation that needs to take place. But it's an awful case, just awful.
Thing was crazy. It happened in Fayetteville, Monique. She's parking for church. He crashes into her. I'm just trying to figure out how in the hell are you a cop off duty? You're not on duty. You're going to get some food. You crash. You don't get arrested. I mean, just like, okay, you're a cop. Right. We're good.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of bad facts, and there are a lot of other facts that are going on with this case. We actually on your show, Roland, discussed a case about a year ago similar to this, but different in that it was an off-duty chase. It was in a jurisdiction where chases are still allowed, which they, in my opinion, should not be, except for certain circumstances. And there was a death. And I said, and I think Scott said as well, this is unfortunate because this is likely going to turn out with no criminal action and no civil recovery. This case is not that, though. There are no facts, at least from what we know, that would support protecting this officer or would support the family not getting what they should. And Scott is right. If 2 years have passed by, all that means is that the city was not willing to jump to it the way they should have and meet the demand necessary in order for this case to be settled.
This next story to me, Jason, really shows you what happens when technology goes awry. A Georgia man was arrested for mistaken identity by a facial recognition tool used by Louisiana law enforcement. Randall Reed was arrested in jail for a week in late November in Georgia because facial recognition technology mistook him for a purse thief who had a 40-pound weight difference. Now, Reed was Now, his technology critics, first of all, rebuke the use of AI face recognition software by law enforcement because they have higher rates of misidentification of people of color. Now, legislation to restrict facial recognition in Louisiana failed in the 2021 legislative session. Now, what's crazy here is, again, he wasn't in the state. Dude is in jail for a week. In jail for a week, and he wasn't even there.
Yeah, I mean, this is just incredibly terrible. I hope he files a very, very lucrative lawsuit, because one of the things I remember having a conversation with a police officer one time, and we were having a disagreement. And one of the things he said is, I can say you swung and I'll lock you up. And even if you file a report when you get out on Monday, it was a Friday, he's like, when you get out on Monday, I took away your freedom for 2 days. And I thought about that, and I was like, holy cow, my freedom is pretty doggone important. They took this man's freedom for a week. That's a week of his life he'll never get back. And, I don't know, if he has children or a wife or family, he's out of state. I think that this is, and to use technology that we know, all of that kind of technology, when it's recognition of, facial recognition and other things, it's always been flawed from day one. We've seen this. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it on your show, Roland, that this technology is often flawed and it often works against people of color in many different ways. This is just another case where it literally robbed a man of time, and time is the greatest currency that we have in life.
Yep.
Took his freedom away, and here he is in jail, and who knows, jail sometimes can be worse than prison. Who knows what he encountered in there.
Scott, this is the quote here. They told me I had a warrant out of Jefferson Parish. Reed said, what is Jefferson Parish? I've never been to Louisiana a day in my life. Then they told me it was for theft. So not only have I not been to Louisiana, I also don't steal.
It's even worse than that. Watch this. He's got an arrest record now. And depending on what jurisdiction he's in, where the arrest record occurs, that's gone all over the country in the police record system, federal and state, right? So going forward, if he works for the government, if he wants to apply for a loan, if he wants to apply for a job, if he wants, he's got to explain this arrest record. If he can get it sealed, great. But even if he gets it sealed, his arrest record in most jurisdictions will show that something has been sealed. When you get arrested by the police, and even if you're not convicted, even if they let you go, it's a problem, especially for Black men and women, because it's hard enough to get a job or to move forward or succeed. But now you got to tell a story or explain away something that's sealed or an arrest record, even if you were wrongfully arrested. That's why you want to stay as far away from the police as possible. He's got to deal with this for the rest of his life.
And the thing here, about 30 seconds here, Monique, this is what happens because we talk about AI. They're written by white engineers. So to act as if AI doesn't have a racial component, it does.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely does. It absolutely does, and it is terrible for people of color, not just Black people, people of color. They've shown time and time again, the research, the data proves it's disproportionately off where we are concerned because they apparently don't know how to code us. And to Scott's point, where arrests are concerned, he's absolutely right. To me, it's a glitch in the system. It's easier to get a conviction, a wrongful conviction expunged than a wrongful arrest. And that should not be the case. And it does track you. But also, recently, firm Sullivan and Cromley or something like that got $250,000 for a man who was falsely arrested and only served an hour in jail. I hope this man finds that firm or somebody who can do what they did, and that he gets $250,000 for every hour for the 5 days.
Again,
that's the settlement.
Brother, absolutely get paid. Get paid.
Yeah.
In fact, sue the police department, sue the technology company, sue everybody. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. Yesterday, we attended the ceremonial swearing in of the Congressional Black Caucus. Not officially new members yet because we ain't got a House Speaker. And so we did some interviews with some CBC members on yesterday. We'll have that for you when you come back. Also, we're going to talk with Terry Starks. He says you can drop 30 pounds, y'all, without sitting here taking drugs, without doing fads and crash diets. We'll talk to him right here as our focus on the second day. We'll focus on the new you in 2023. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Download our app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And, of course, get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Brownie of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at all bookstores, Target, Books A Million. Also, download a copy on Audible. We'll be right back. Even once we get
we talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The Supreme Court is back in session. God help us all. It is no exaggeration to say that this current session could completely reshape this country and redirect our future for generations to come. And not in a good way. We invite Dr. Valencia Watkins and Professor Angela Porter, our legal roundtable, back to the show to put it all in perspective. That's on the next Black Table. Please don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, this is Essence Atkins.
Hey, I'm Deion Cole from Blackish.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
All right, fam. Yesterday, the Congressional Black Caucus had what is called a ceremonial swearing in because they thought by the afternoon there would be a Speaker of the House, but Republicans ain't elected nobody yet. So the new Congress, new House, actually hasn't been sworn in yet. So all of those individuals who are new members, they ain't new members yet. They ain't even getting a check yet. We caught up with a number of CBC members yesterday, including the new chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congressman Stephen Horsford of Nevada. Scott, he's an alpha man. And so here are some of the interviews that we did with the CBC members. You now are leading this Congressional Black Caucus. You're in the minority, not in the majority, so that's a lot different than the last couple of years.
No matter who the speaker is, the Congressional Black Caucus is going to continue to fight for opportunities in the black community, making sure that we're addressing racial equity, providing wealth creation, jobs, entrepreneurship, the things that black people need in our communities. It doesn't matter who's in control in the House, making sure that we hold the federal government and the private sector accountable to our people will be our priority this Congress.
One of the things in your speech, you talked about contracts, and the reality is blacks are getting 1.67% of all federal contracts out of $560 billion. and that's paltry. I know on the advertising side, black-owned media is only getting 1% of the $1 billion. And so that, to me, is a huge piece there. That if we're not getting our fair share of those contracts, if we go to 5%, 8%, 10%, that changes Black America.
So the Biden-Harris administration has set a goal of increasing by 50% by 2025. We're going to work with them, but more importantly, we're going to hold every federal agency accountable to opening up the process, having more procurement fairs, bringing in small businesses, working with the Minority Business Development Agency, which is now a permanently funded agency. It doesn't get reauthorized every couple of years, and bringing, most importantly, our local Black businesses into the process so that they know how to do contracting, not only with the federal government, but with the private sector.
You know, obviously, one of the other issues is that this Democratic Party has to deal with, frankly, white consultants controlling the dollars, not spending on Black turnout. We've seen the studies showing what Black turnout was, dropped by 50,000 votes in Milwaukee, dropped in South Carolina. We saw what happened in North Carolina. And many folks are like myself are saying, if the investment is made not in October of election year, but in 2023, building towards 2024, then all of a sudden it's a different outcome in 2024. What are you going to be focused on that in terms of driving that with the party?
We would be in the majority if it wasn't for 7,000 votes in 4 states across this country in the House of Representatives.
7,000.
7,000 votes is why we are in the minority and not the majority. So let it be very clear. We will push not only the Democratic Party, but outside groups as well to make sure that we have early engagement, that we're talking to voters, not about turning out in election and only coming out when it's time to vote, but talking about the importance of issues around racial equity, around job creation, connecting people to all of the opportunity from the legislation that we just passed in the last 2 years. Well, those opportunities are just now being realized in the next months and years to come. And so it's now incumbent upon us to create those opportunities. As chair, we will be launching not only a racial equity and justice initiative, but we're going to bring back our jobs and justice initiative, where we bring job fairs into major Black communities so that we can bring the opportunity to the people who need them the most.
All right, Frat, looking forward to it. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Obviously, it's a little different being in the minority versus being in the majority. But what do you say to Black America, the CBC's role is going to be now the Republicans controlling the House?
I think we are always the loyal opposition. We're going to remain loyal to the cause that we know, and we will oppose that which should not occur. I think we'll do good.
And what do you got to say about your new Democratic leader? He's kind of feisty.
He is, and he is great. He's done well as chair of our caucus. He did our message group before that, and I think he's going to be an outstanding leader for the Democrats.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Congresswoman, real quick, obviously you were the chair with Democrats in control. It's a little bit different now, Republicans in control. So for the folks who are wondering what role CBC plays now, what do you say to them?
Well, I think you're going to see CBC playing a greater role now. We know that the Republicans are divided. They're having a hard time even figuring out who their speaker is going to be. We're united behind Hakeem Jeffries, and being in the minority with a margin like this allows us still to work on our agendas. I'm very confident and comfortable. You're going to see a lot more of us.
One of the things that also jumps out, we've been talking about is we've seen South Carolina, other places, a drop in Black voter turnout. The reality is Democrats need that. What are y'all saying to the party before 2024 about what they have to do to drive that, also return Democrats to power in the House?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Just last night, Stephen Horsford is coming out of the chute with a retreat this month, and that is our top priority, to make sure that we don't make mistakes we've made in the past. We have to talk about our power, our message, and the excitement starts tomorrow. Warnock won his election. We should not have to have elections that close with what we're doing. We need to engage with Black media more. We heard you loud and clearly. So I think what you're going to see with Hakeem Jeffries, with Stephen Horsford, with me playing a role as the emeritus, we're going to get it right.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
All right. I'll grab both of you at the same time, Congresswoman Kelly, Congresswoman Williams. Obviously, this is a much different situation, being in the minority, not being in the majority. And so for the folks who out there who are saying, well, what can the CBC do with the House being controlled by Democrats, what do you say?
Well, this is my second time in the minority, and I did get work done. I try to work in a bipartisan way, and we can still do a lot of programs in our community. And there are, I think because of the election, that it wasn't a red wave, there are some Republicans out there that know they have to work with us.
So I remember our new leader, incoming leader Jeffrey, saying that oftentimes with the Congressional Black Caucus, the cast of the characters change, but the content of the characters never change. So we will continue to be the conscience of the Congress, making sure that we are showing up to deliver the promise of America for everyone. I'm excited to be here for a second term, no longer a freshman anymore, Roland. Excited to do the work of the people. That's what it's about.
All right, thanks. Congresswoman Jackson Lee, this is obviously a different situation. Democrats are now in the House with Republicans now in control. What do you see moving forward?
Well, I frankly see that the struggle continues. We have not yet finished the journey. I don't see how we can go forward without a voting rights bill that eliminates the suppression of the right to vote. I think it is extremely crucial, to be honest with you, that H.R. 40, the Commission to Study Slavery and Develop Reparation Proposals, goes forward. But more importantly, I think that we have to assert what democracy stands for. And democracy is where everyone is at the seat of the table. I don't know what's going to happen today. We don't know who the speaker is going to be. But the one thing that the Congressional Black Caucus will stand for is the empowerment of our people and the empowerment of working Americans. We hope President Biden will assert his power for what is right, and that is an increased economic opportunity for all Americans, including African Americans, and I think there should be a national stance on ending homelessness and protecting our children. That's what we have going forward, and we cannot stop.
All right, Congressman, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, so you're quite the newbie.
Not quite here yet, but soon. February 21st is the special.
All right, gotcha. Oh, the special. Yes. Gotcha. So it hasn't happened yet. So question for you. This obviously is different. You win the special, you go from the State House to Congress. Not far being Virginia, but it's a lot different.
It's a lot different, but that's okay. It's I'm just very excited to come and join the CBC and stand on the shoulders of people like Shirley Chisholm and John Lewis, and I'm just happy to be here.
In terms of for you, you go through the special, what would your priorities be?
Very similar to what they were in Virginia, addressing climate change, access to health care, particularly for women and children, expanding access to child care. Happy that the Pregnant Worker Fairness Act has finally passed. I did that in Virginia, and we got more work to do. Voting rights, big priority for me as well.
And one of the things that the Congressman Horsford talked about really was driving the economic piece for African Americans and Black-owned businesses.
Yes, and they're all related. It's, you know, all of it. I think we need to start thinking of economic opportunity, education, access to health care. They're all related, and so get out of our silos and look at the big picture so that we can lift up everybody.
All right, sounds good. All right, appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Absolutely. All right, thanks a lot. And so you know, Scott, we were there at the swearing in there, and had a good time by all. We missed you in this photo here. Actually, you probably couldn't make this photo. This is a photo of the Alpha members of Congress. There were some brothers who were not there, like David Scott of Georgia. Just want to let you know, Scott, that we did take a photo of the Alphas who were present at the CBC swearing in.
I didn't see the caucus leader there either, but you'll be following, every one of those Black Alphas will be following the leadership of a great Kappa man, an historical figure.
Who's
so
that?
I'm comfortable with that photograph.
Who's that?
I'm comfortable.
Who's that?
Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh yeah, well you know,
man.
Alpha's made it possible. So you know, as usual, y'all gotta allow us to lay the foundation, and then y'all just walk.
But he gonna tell y'all what to do. He gonna tell y'all what to do.
Yeah, okay.
You better do.
We keep y'all in line. All right, y'all. Coming up next, I got a Sigma coming up. Terry Stark says you don't have. Terry Stark says you don't have to lose weight by taking drugs or being on a crash diet at all. We'll talk to him next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
I love directing. It's a different kind of piece. I do believe that the 30 years I was acting was to prepare me for what I'm supposed to be doing and that what I really am good at.
But when you were acting, were you even thinking about directing?
Nope.
Were you? So what the hell happened?
If you had asked me 15 years ago, I probably would have said, no, I don't know. I was doing Ava DuVernay's first film, I Will Follow. Mm-hmm. And during that process, I think because it was her first film, maybe
She's self-taught.
Absolutely. I probably gave too many suggestions. And at some point, Ava said to me, I think you're a director and you don't know it.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hello, everyone. It's Kiara Sheard.
Hey, I'm Taj.
I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily. And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, so normally we do Fit, Live, Win every Monday, but what I wanted to do this year was to do it for the first 10 shows this year as we talk about a new you in 2023. And let me be clear, the idea is not to get caught up in, as we said last night with Jim Jones, the fitness routine and the eating routine. It really is, how do you establish really a lifestyle, a continuous lifestyle that sort of changes you. And my next guest, he talks about that a lot. You've seen me post some of his stuff on Instagram. And Terry Starks goes by the Diet Doctor on Instagram. And he's constantly trying to say, folks, there's a way for you to lose weight. There's a way for you to drop the pounds. There's a way for you to get better. It doesn't require you to be on drugs. Doesn't require you to be on these crash fads, crash diets and these fads. And Terry, you got people out here talking about keto, and they're talking about, remember the old school Atkins, and you got a lot of people talking about intermittent fasting. And it's amazing, you put up something on social media, and it's a whole bunch of diet fitness folk who turn into experts, just like you get a whole bunch of vaccine experts on social media. And so how long have you been doing this, and how did you really come to this point where you say, I really got to commit myself and my life to this issue?
Well, I've been doing it. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the platform, Brother Martin. I appreciate that. And I have been doing this since 1997 is when I officially got started. So I've got well over 75,000 transformations. Can you hear me, Roland?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. So, but the first thing that I always preach is healthy lifestyle change. When it comes to losing weight and staying in phenomenal shape, I don't care what you do. If it can't be done for an absolute lifetime, it will never work. What I'm doing, I've been able to maintain my weight loss since 1988, 35 years. I'm definitely not. You can't diet for 35 years. It's definitely a healthy lifestyle change.
So, and look, you're into bodybuilding, you're into all of that. And so what do you say to the people who say, Terry, look, it's easy for you. We see your body, we see how much you're in shape, but it ain't that easy for the rest of us.
Well, and that's who I try to cater is the average everyday person. Roland, this is why I became the diet doctor. I lost 9 family members because of poor eating habits. And my prayer is, gosh, there has to be a way to save the culture. And I figured it out. I mean, with schooling, that provided the base, but it was a lot of just experimentation, trial and error. I can pretty much transform anyone out there that's obedient and that's willing to listen.
Now when you say transform,
yes.
What do you mean by that? Because, and what is it that you do differently that maybe other people who focus on stuff are not doing?
I think the main thing I do is I teach my clients to go by the mirror and don't worry about the scale. All of those IG posts and all of those Facebook posts, not once have I mentioned how much weight my clients have lost. They ain't losing no weight. We're judged based off of how we look. Nobody cares what you weigh. Nobody will know your weight unless you tell them. But that mirror always tells the truth.
So when you say that, when you say you don't care about the weight, so when you're dealing with your clients, because there's a lot of people, they're on that scale every single day. They're like, oh, I'm down 0.3, I'm down 0.4, oh, I'm up 0.5, and all of that. And so for you say get on the scale once a week and judge based upon how you look and how your clothes are fitting.
Correct. Well, you're not even on my program. You're only hopping on the scale twice after the first week because I need to make sure that a client isn't losing too much weight too quickly and too fast. Believe it or not, losing a lot of weight too fast is not a good sign. If you do my program and you tell me, oh my God, Terry, I lost 20 pounds the first week. I can't believe it. That's too much weight for you. I am into reducing the body fat. That's it. Whatever you happen to weigh once you're done with my program, that's what you weigh. It's the look that I'm after. That look, the look. And also assuring that you have perfect health. So, but it's the look that, that I'm always after. Whatever you weigh is what you weigh.
There are, again, we're living in this age now where, again, everybody is an expert. Somebody does something that works for them, and they're like, oh, that works for everybody else, when in fact, the matter, it doesn't. We all have different schedules. We all have different lifestyles. We just have different ways of operating. And one of the key things that you always talk about, you always keep saying, look, you gotta eat. Now, what's crazy is the mindset of a lot of us is, oh, I can lose weight if I don't eat. You say that's the dumbest thing in the world. You gotta eat. Why?
Well, here's the thing, Roland. The human body is like a fireplace. Listen carefully. When you've got logs in a fireplace and that fire is burning, that room is warm. Once it gets to the 2.5 hour, 3 hour mark, the fire dies down. What do you have to do next? You have to throw more logs into the fireplace. Here comes that fire again. That room is nice and warm. Once you get to that 2.5, 3 hour mark, the logs are dying down, the fire is slowly going down. You have to put more logs in it. The human body is the same way. When you fuel the body a small meal, give that food enough time to digest. That's why I have my clients eat every 3 hours, and then you fuel the body with another small meal. Majority of African Americans, anybody in general, regardless of the race, they're struggling with weight loss, not because they're overeating, but 85% of them aren't eating enough. You will be surprised how many people call me, say they're only eating once, twice a day, and they're borderline obese. That's the problem.
And you also say get the 5 in regardless of what time. Again, the craze now is intermittent fasting. Don't eat after 8 o'clock. You tell your clients, throw that out the window.
Right. Well, here's the thing, Brother Martin. You, on my program, you have 24 hours to get those 5. Some of my clients are eating 6 meals a day, but the majority of them, I have them eat 5 to get those 5 meals in and space them out every 3 hours. You decide what time you want to eat. 40% of my clients with the most breathtaking transformations, they work the 3rd shift. And so I get calls like, well, how are these people losing weight? They're eating at midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, well, they work the 3rd shift. When you're up working, that's when you should be eating.
So your deal is, again, you're assessing what your client's schedule is. And so everything, because a lot of the times when you see these programs, it's 8 a.m. to, 8 p.m. Well, if that ain't when you work or when you sleep, that don't work for you.
Roland, everyone's body is different. Everyone's schedule is different. Everybody's results are different in a sense. But at the end of the day, they all lose weight on my program. Now, for some of the elder clients, I explained to them it may take a little bit longer, but if you stay with me, you're still going to lose. It's not fair for one of my 69-year-old clients to compare her transformation with an 18-year-old. Well, of course she's going to go from a 6 to a 2. She's 18. So everyone's body is different.
Last question. I'm going to go to a break. Then my panelists have questions as well. And that is when we talk about exercise. There are a lot of people who say, oh, look, if you're over a certain age, you can't lose no weight unless you're lifting weights, unless you're going heavy. Your deal is, no, get the cardio in. Why?
So this is how it works. I let my clients decide what they can do as far as exercise. And some of my clients are in a wheelchair. Well, they can't get on the Stairmaster or elliptical. So they do the best they can. Some of them that are wheelchair bound, they'll just roll themselves up and down the hallway. 90% of losing the weight is through proper nutrition. Only 10% is from exercise. So you do what you're able to do as far as staying active, walking, a treadmill, swim aerobics.
You're saying body movement. The key is moving your body.
The body needs to be exercised. Move it around, but don't kill yourself exercising. Just do something that you can.
All right, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We come back. Monique, Jason, and Scott have some questions for you. Looks like Monique writing down the whole damn legal thesis over there. And so we'll cover that next. If y'all got some questions, put it in the chat. I also asked there as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The Supreme Court is back in session. God help us all. It is no exaggeration to say that this current session could completely reshape this country and redirect our future for generations to come. And not in a good way. We invite Dr. Valencia Watkins and Professor Angela Porter, our legal roundtable, back to the show to put it all in perspective. That's on the next Black Table. Please don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
So this is Roger Bauer. I got a message for Roland Mascot. Oh, I'm sorry, Ascot Martin. Buddy, you're supposed to be hooking me up with some of these mascots. I'm sorry, ascots that you claim to wear. Where's mine, buddy?
Hey, yo, Peace World. What's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, we're talking with Terry Stark, the Diet Doctor, on Instagram. And let's go to questions from our panelists. Monique, you first.
Turn your machine on.
Let's go.
Or you
Yeah.
I was on mute. I was just making sure everyone could hear. Diet Doctor, could you just tell us what does your program consist of? Like, what you start with a new client, what is it that they do different than what they would be doing with any other weight program?
Well, the first thing, before I even attempt to create a nutritional plan for you, I have to learn every single thing about you. We have to discuss food allergies, health conditions, your lifestyle, your sleep pattern, your work schedule. All of that is important to help me figure out what to create for you that will allow your body to reduce body fat. So it's just healthy eating, a little bit of moderate exercise, and prayer. Those are the foundations in my program.
Healthy eating meaning what? Like, what do you do an eating plan based on what the person's particular composition is, or is it for everyone 5 meals a day? I'm just trying to figure out, because as Roland said, so many of us, me included, have done a million different types of programs. Do you subscribe to one in particular?
Well, so the first thing we have to figure out is health-wise, what's going on with a person health-wise. That's the first thing. We got to get that out the way. And then, I don't know, we just have to figure out how your day is, because 5 meals may be too much for you. We may be able to only squeeze in 4. It just depends. But the way the human body works, the more meals you are able to get in, the quicker and faster your body's going to transform. So if you can't get the 5 meals in, it may take us a hair longer, but that individual will still lose.
So Terry, you're saying the basis of your, I'm just trying to understand, the basis of your PC is 5 meals a day, smaller meals, getting your gallon of water in, and also it's the type of foods as well. I mean, it's not like you're saying.
Oh wait, I didn't hear a gallon of water.
Well, first of all, if you just listen, I'm adding it in. Hell yeah, you got to drink water. I ain't just saying just.
But I didn't hear Terry say that.
Well, Monique, it's called show host research. That's what it's called. Okay. So if you're going to learn to host a show, learn to do some research, then you can.
I got it.
Well, there you go. Learn to do the research as the show host, then you can put that in there. So the bottom line is, ain't nobody out here talking about do 5 meals and not drinking water. Hell, that's kind of basic. But Terry, we're talking about 5 meals. We're talking about foods. You're not saying I can go to Popeyes, I can have me some ribs. You also, what are you also saying to your clients what foods they should be eating?
Correct. There's certain foods that you can eat that will force the body to transform fat. And everything about my program is just healthy, clean eating. There's nothing off the wall. People say, "What are they eating? Ostrich tails or frog leg?" They're always bringing up these weird foods. I'm like, no, half the stuff you're going to have at home, there's just a few things you'll have to go to the grocery store and pick up. I'll give you guys a really good one. For an example, I'll have my clients drink a little bit of orange juice, cranberry juice, grape juice. And people are like, how are they dropping 2-3 dress sizes and they're drinking juice? We thought juice was bad for you. And my explanation to them is they're not consuming a gallon of juice per day. They're only drinking 4 ounces. I want you to make the healthy choices without feeling like you're on a diet. And that's my mindset. When I'm eating my salmon, my asparagus, my green peas, people are like, are you on the diet? I'm like, no, I'm just eating lunch. Like, oh, and I want to transform my client's mind. The physical transformation is simple. It's the mental transformation that I'm after. Once I get your mind, oh, I got you.
Jason.
So I guess I'm one of those people that is a, kind of an amateur health, expert myself. But I'll say,
here it comes. That IG Twitter health expert. Go ahead.
Absolutely. But I'll say one thing, and that is it's not about eating late. It's about eating. You shouldn't eat right before you go to sleep. So if you are working until 12 and you eat at 12, you shouldn't go to sleep until 1. That's, because your body should be resting, not digesting. But at any rate, I wanted to ask, what is the role of sleep in weight loss? And is that a part of your program?
Yeah, you have to give the body plenty of rest. The body is transforming when you're sleeping. Always. So if you're not giving the body active rest, it can't properly transform. You got to get up. You're doing cardio on my plan. The calories are slightly restricted. So the body needs the rest. Without adequate rest, the human body won't do anything. It won't do anything. And another thing too, I want to bring this up. 2 things that really pisses the human body off when it comes to losing weight. And that is trying to rush a transformation and stressing over losing the weight. When those cortisol levels rise, the body says, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. So I always tell everybody that contacts me to do my program, be patient. I get it. They see the 35-day transformation with all those clients that I'm posting, but stay in your lane and don't rush the process.
Got it.
The body's going to do what it's going to do.
Scott.
Guaranteed.
Scott.
Yeah, I would have a question, but there's too much blue and white on the screen with the diet doctor. You got any red shit you can put up? Dang.
Red? Oh, no.
Hey, Doc, here's the deal. I want you to talk a little bit about genetics and willpower. You may have seen this 60-minute report with these bariatric doctors who said all the people in The Biggest Loser that lost a bunch of weight gained it back, that 96% of how we look and whether we're overweight or underweight comes from genetics. Can you discuss that and reconcile that with your program?
I would say some of that is true. But I've got my own theory, and I firmly believe, I don't care who you are, if you're eating healthy and you're staying active, the human body is forced to slowly transform. Scientific guarantee. Now, granted, based off somebody's metabolism and genetics, some people will lose a little bit faster. But if you're making the healthy choices and you're staying active, the body is forced to slowly transform. And I want to make sure I put this into perspective. My program consists of a healthy amount of protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats, and fiber. So if you're doing any other program and you don't have those key ingredients, if those macronutrients, if there's no fiber or healthy fats, you'll lose the weight super fast and you'll gain it back quadruple. But what I teach my audience and my clients, listen, it's a healthy lifestyle change. This is something we can do for the rest of our lives.
Thank you.
All right, Terry, we appreciate it. You also have been very specific in targeting Divine Nine folks. You often are seeking out different fraternities and sorority members when it comes to your program.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I love the Divine Number. You know, my program is absolutely for everybody. You know, I'm willing to help anybody that wants to help. I'm a Sigma, and the Sigma man is here to serve. That's what we do. So, yes, sir.
Oh, see, there you go. Okay, all right. Terry, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. Follow him on Instagram at The Diet Doctor. You also see his Facebook page there and email as well. Terry, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rose.
So, folks, when I was in Jamaica, I was literally walking on the beach, and that's when I decided we were going to do this. And so there are a number of folks who were having literally every single day, fitness folks, diet experts. Carol, who's tomorrow? JJ Smith, of course, the Green Smoothie Queen. She is going to be on the show tomorrow with her New York Times bestseller book. And so look forward to having that conversation with her as well. Scott, Monique, Jason, thank you so very much for joining us on the panel today. We appreciate it a bunch. Folks, that is it for us. We will see you guys tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Again, it's all about a new you, not just what you eat, not just with working out, but also what happened here, your thought process, how you're changing that aspect of your life as well. Don't forget, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Join our Bring the Funk fan club by sending your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is on RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, and get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Brownie of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at all bookstores, as well at Barnes & Noble and Target. And, of course, you can download it on Audible. Folks, we will see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Holla!
Thank you.